Hello, everyone. My name is Sumit Agarwal. I am the host for this evening, the moderator for this webinar. I work for Maple Assist. Maple Assist in an edutech company that is powering this webinar. We are organizing this webinar in collaboration with University of Victoria. My colleague, Mr. Saurav Verma from University of Victoria, is going to be online in a minute. We would start pretty soon as we are waiting for more students and their families to join in. Meanwhile, I'm assuming most of you have already made your applications, have applied for University of Victoria, uh, uh, for the coming fall intake. So the objective is to of this webinar is to answer all your questions regarding the future intakes, the admission requirements, the process, etc. Also, to get a better understanding of what University of Victoria is planning in terms of you know basically a containment plan for September 2019 in view of COVID-19 in case the impacts are there at that point of time also. So Saurabh is here. Saurabh, hi. Also, I will like to give you some basic housekeeping points for this webinar. I request you to please save your questions for the question answer session that we are going to have in the second part of this webinar. So the format is first 20 minutes, we will give an overview of University of Victoria, the programs, the admission requirements, etc., the processes. We'll talk about a little about COVID-19 and its impact on the students at UVic. And then we'll open the chat. I'm sure you all can see a chat button on your screens. So we would be taking questions through that chat button itself, right? So I request you all to send your questions, not right now, but when we start taking questions on the chat itself. Uh, all right, I'm just trying to get Mr. Saurabh online.
ठीक है. Good evening, everyone.
All right, so we are joined by Mr. Saurabh Verma from University of Victoria. He's the regional admissions and recruitment advisor for the university, and he's here to help you this evening. Over to you, Saurabh.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to connect with you. Some of you might have applied. Some of you are still in the process of doing the application. Last few days left. So it's a good way to connect with all of you guys. We'll try to cover up the maximum questions. Some of you have already submitted some questions to us. So we would like to answer back, as far as possible. We'll try to answer all the questions and give you a proper overview about the university and in terms of the COVID, what exactly is the preparations at the university.
Sure. The format of this webinar is going to be a little bit more interactive. I am going to ask a few relevant questions to Saurabh, who's going to answer them, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Floor, when I say floor, I mean the chat box. So Saurabh, University of Victoria is located on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Why is Vancouver Island so livable? Why is Victoria so popular amongst the international students?
So, I mean, Victoria as a city has its own beauty. It's one of the most beautiful cities to be at. Being the capital city of British Columbia, opportunities, there are a lot of opportunities that exist out here, both in terms of your part-time employability and accessing the various resources. It gives you the feel of being in a big city, but always, with the connect of the, a local city as well. So weather again here is a big advantage, because you might have heard that most of the Canadian cities observe a very harsh cold weather. When it comes to Victoria, I mean, here the average temperatures in the winter are don't go beyond less than 8 degrees, and summers are close to 22 degrees or so. So it's a quite livable climate out there. It's a very student-friendly city. Beaches are just 10 minutes away from your city. The campus is also not very far from the downtown area.
That's
so
great.
It's a good mix of all things together.
That's right. Saurabh, in fact, Victoria is one of my favorite cities. Whenever I visit British Columbia, I try to visit Victoria, even if it's for a day. You know, the city itself has a very strong British heritage and British architecture, which I love about Victoria. Coming to the university, UVic. Uh, UVic is one of the most popular and one of the best Canadian universities. So, what makes it so special?
So, if we talk about the university itself, I mean, university has three very strong points. We offer you a very dynamic environment, being in such a good location. We offer you a place wherein it's very, very conducive for pursuing your academics out there. Secondly, we also give you hands-on experience, through a lot of co-op opportunities that are there at UVic. Most of our programs have some kind of co-op opportunities, which gives you a feel of the job market while you are there in the program. Before you graduate, at least you have some idea about what kind of opportunities exist. And the third is a lot of UVic is a public funded university. It's a research university. So if in case you are into research, we have a lot of ongoing research projects at the university, in which you can your faculties will help you out in terms of getting these encash these research opportunities. And this university is blessed with very good faculties who have been there with the university for a long time. They hail from top institutions across, and that's what also contributes to the various top rankings that the university has. I mean, we've almost at a decade. We've been featuring in top 3 universities, top 3 comprehensive universities of Canada. And if you talk about other global rankings, there also you will always find UVic in the top positions.
Okay, that's great to know, Saurabh. So, Saurabh, how many programs are offered at an undergraduate level at the university for international students?
So, as I said, I mean, we are a comprehensive university, so close to 80 plus programs are available at an undergraduate level.
That's
so
wonderful. And how many faculties are there?
There are 7 faculties majorly. I mean, the Faculty of Engineering, the Faculty of Humanities, School of Business, Law, and then we have Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. So these are the major faculties that we have, and one more in Fine Arts.
Oh, that's wonderful. So can you please list for our audience some of the most popular and in-demand programs offered at University of Victoria at the undergraduate level?
Okay. So if you talk about the top programs, basically, I mean, we get most of the applications for School of Business, Faculty of Engineering, which has all the possible engineering specializations, be it electrical engineering, be it computer science engineering, software, biomedical, civil, and mechanical. Then we have BSc Computer Science, which is one of the most popular programs of the university. Along with that, we are very popular for our psychology and economics programs. So, and the good thing is that most of the programs offer you a good range of, major and minor combinations. So even if you are interested, say for example in psychology, and you wish to take up economics as well along with that, those combinations are very easily possible.
That's great. Uh, Coming to the program requirements, Saurabh, how easy or difficult is it to get into UVic?
So that's a tough question, because each faculty has its own uh, requirements. So if we talk about the toughest programs to get into are business, engineering, and computer science.
Mm-hmm.
They're slightly lenient with the faculty of arts and the faculty of social sciences, wherein they require minimum of 75% to 80% in their class 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to engineering, computer science, and school of business, we require a minimum of 85% to start with. However, having said that, minimum does not mean that you get an assured admission. Minimum is what you should be having to at least get a chance.
Okay, that's great. So you've already mentioned the basic admission requirements. What are the additional requirements or qualities that the faculties are looking for when they're screening applications? Like, do you think volunteer work help? A lot of students do a lot of volunteering. Does that help? What are the other things that students can do to add more weight to their applications?
Okay. So for a few faculties, we do ask for a supplemental application in which you need to tell us about your what all other than academics, what you've done, what are your special achievements. These faculties are basically fine arts and the School of Business. Whereas the other faculties are considered, they are more inclined towards the academic performance of the child, because the volume of application at UVic is very large as compared to the number of seats available. So academics is the first and the last thing that they look at in terms of getting selected or not. Other things apart from this, English language proficiency is what also we check. We accept IELTS scores, IDP and British Council, which is 6.5 in each section, with no band less than 6. And then we also accept TOEFL, which is overall 90, with no section less than 20.
Okay.
So this is what we accept. We don't require SOPs, we don't require LORs. If the supplemental application is not asked for, you don't need to submit any additional documents.
All right, that's great, Saurabh. Saurabh, we've talked. Can you please tell me what are the expected expenditures if someone wants to study at UVic? One part is tuition fee, the other part is cost of living.
Okay.
I understand British Columbia is generally expensive, so how much should students really expect to spend when they're studying at UVic towards tuition as well as cost of living?
So if you talk about roughly, I mean, the average tuition fees at UVic is roughly about 25,000 Canadian dollars, which in Indian currency sums up to be around 13 lakhs INR. When it comes to the residence, if you talk about the most premium accommodation, which is single residence with meals, it will cost you around about $11,000. So residence for 2 terms with meals will cost you $11,000. So it's around about 5.8 lakhs. And another, books and supplies, you can assume it to be 90,000 rupees. So overall 1 year budget can be, somewhat close to 20 lakhs or so. However, you do have the choice in terms of the accommodation. We offer you a single occupancy, double occupancy with meal. And then we also have a cluster accommodation, which does not include meal plans. So all these 3 types of accommodations are available. I mean, the details are given on the website. And once this is done, I would like to share some details with the student to how to look out for the accommodation.
All right. Coming to the student services part of it, what are the services offered by UVic for international students in terms of support services before they arrive at the campus and after they arrive at the campus?
Okay. So before they arrive at the campus, I can see many of them have already applied in this session. So, I mean, end of May, we'll try to do a session with all the applicants who've been selected and who accepted the offers. The idea is that one of the departments called the International Student Services, they will connect with them and they'll tell them about the study permit process and all, and they'll give them the information about the same. When they land at the university, then there are various student services that they can access to. And first is the accommodation. They'll be properly accommodated in the various residence that they picked up or they've been assigned to. And then we also have, academic and health services, which takes up if in case you have any health issues, you can be taken care of. Then we also have the academic advising committee, who guides the students upon, if in case they are interested in, different streams of the education, or if in case somebody who's doing a computer science program wants to take up music, whether it will be suitable for his or her career or not. Then the academic advising committee comes into picture, who tells us that what kind of subjects we should be taking up to make a career in a certain field. Then we also have the student life office, which helps them with other aspects of, if in case they want to cope up in terms of their education or anything like that. So range of services are there. And we also have, last to mention, the co-op cell, which helps them find out relevant opportunities which start from the second year onwards. Because co-op is something which for the few of the programs it is mandatory to be a part of. For example, BSc Computer Science and all engineering programs, and then School of Business, the BCom program. These have mandatory co-ops. So you'll have to be a part of these co-ops starting from the second year. So you have to connect with these offices on time.
Okay. So one of the most common question that I come across from parents and students is about the employability and employment rate. Right. So can you shed some more light about the employment rate of the graduates of undergraduate programs at UVic?
Okay, good question. So what we do is that we encourage our students to be a part of these co-op programs. As if you talk about numbers, roughly about 42% of the university students are enrolled in some co-op opportunities. When it comes to the earning potential while being in the co-op, the idea is not just to give them some to give them the opportunity to earn money, but the idea is to get the hands-on experience of working with these companies while you are there in Canada itself. So the UVic has one of the highest paying co-op terms, which is 11,500 per term, and they are eligible to do 3 to 4 such terms. So because of that, what happens is that our students are pretty ready in terms of the employment. We have a pool of say 1,350 various organizations who have recruited from UVic, and we maintain a very strong employment ratio of 92% of our graduates getting employed after the program. For students who do these co-ops, 75% of these students already have a job in hand before they complete the program. So that is the kind of assurance that you can extract from these co-ops. Plus you earn good amount of money while you are there in the co-ops itself.
That always helps, Saurabh. That's very important. When students are spending so much, they of course expect some return on investment. So Saurabh, we all are very anxious right now about the COVID-19 pandemic that has gripped the entire world. Every university is taking certain steps to mitigate the problems arising out of COVID-19. What is University of Victoria doing for its students?
Okay, so if you talk about how COVID has affected the intakes, if you talk about what we have done is that for the May intake, which we could not start on time because now there's no point students can travel to Canada, the borders are also sealed. So what we have done is that we have taken the classes online. So till the time the process resumes, they will be doing the online classes, and then once they are able to travel, they can go ahead and travel. Their accommodation, everything is there already freezed. They can start the full-time classes over there. What we have done is that we have also allocated an emergency bursary funds for the students. So if in case you face any issues in terms of financials or in terms of any issues, there's a specific bursary that will be given to the students. You just have to request and explain your condition, why exactly you need that, and accordingly you will be given that bursary. Also, there are a lot of questions from the students as in for not being able to submit the documents on time and not being able to submit the IELTS or TOEFL scores on time. So we have given enough bracket for the students to submit these documents to us. And then we'll also like to share timely updates as far as September intake is considered. It is not affected at all. There are no changes in the September intake as of now. I mean, the university plans to start everything on time. That is also one of the reasons to connect with the students, because most of the students have this idea that they might not be able to start their studies on time. But this is not the case. University is fully prepared. As per the government's regulations, whatever preparations are to be made, these are being made at the university, and be rest assured everything will be on time. And as I said, that as we have taken steps for the May intake, worst case scenario, we may have a backup plan as well. So don't worry, your programs and everything will start on time.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thanks a lot. That's really reassuring. I hope September intake is not affected and students are able to pursue their programs as per their schedules. But I'm sure in case there are any changes, UVic will not leave any stone unturned to make sure the students are well informed in time,
Yes.
and students' interest is well protected throughout the process. So I can reassure all of you that you don't have to worry. UX International Department is working day and night to make sure that students uh, are least affected during this entire, I would still call it a crisis. So during this entire crisis. Sure. Thank you, Saurabh. We would now like to start taking some questions. I am sure you all can see a chat button on the bottom of your screens. So it's great if you can start sending in your questions. I've received the first question, Saurabh. I'm going to read out the question to you and then you can answer it. The first question is, if we pay the acceptance fees but the admission does not happen in fall, will we get a refund, or the same is applicable for spring 21 intake?
Okay, so I mean, if in case you're not able to start the intake, you're not able to start the intake on time, what we'll try to do is that you can defer your admission to the next available cycle. Depends on your program. So say for example, September intake students can move to January, or September intake students can move to May as well. So what they have to do is they have to just request for the same with their admission officers, and accordingly we'll take the decision. So yes, it is possible. So it will not lapse. However, it will not be refunded.
All right. The second question is, Saurabh, what would happen if class 12 results are not declared on time and it's too late for the intake?
Okay, so in that case, a couple of scenarios might come up. In that case, these students will be asked to join in January, which is the next available admission cycle, or they can defer it out to the next available intake whenever their respective program is starting. So that can be the only two solutions. However, any result which is available to you, you can submit it to us. That might be also a scenario wherein you might not have a visa on time, but you can still join through the online classes, if in case that is the kind of situation we enter into. Those possibilities might be available. However, as we approach these months, we can talk about.
Sure, Saurabh. Thank you. The next question is, what is the cutoff date for submission of IELTS or any other language proficiency test? Pardon me.
Okay. So as of now, we are giving time till July first week to submit these test results to us. If in case, there are 2-3 ways of doing it. Most of the students do not know that if in case they have studied in an English medium institution from class 9 to 12, they can submit a certificate from the school that the medium instruction was English, and that can also act as a English medium proficiency, relevant proficiency for the English. Right. And based on that also we can waive off the condition for the IELTS or TOEFL.
Sure. Saurabh, that brings me to a question that is not asked by the audience, but I would like to take that up. Are you guys accepting Duolingo or the IELTS indicator test, the new one that has recently been introduced?
Okay. So a couple of tests that we'll be accepting apart from the regular ones would be the IELTS indicator. Yes, we are looking into it. IELTS indicator, we can look into that test. And then we also can accept a TOEFL, which is online. I don't know
IBT.
Whether
it's called TOEFL IBT.
Yeah. So these two we can accept.
All right, that's great. Another question is how will the visas be affected? So let me answer that. We don't know yet. The VFS officers and IRCC officials are not in the capacity to process visas at the moment. We don't know how long the shutdown situation will go on in India, but as soon as the situation normalizes here in India, the IRCC office in India and the VFS offices in India would be functional. So it is subject to the conditions in India. Next question is exams are still to be completed and they don't seem to be happening soon. What happens next? I think we've already answered that question, Saurabh. Uh, Another question is when can a student apply for the visa? So I would like to rephrase this question, paraphrase it. Can a student apply for a visa on the basis of a conditional offer letter?
Conditional offer letter, no, they will have to, give in a result to us to make the offer unconditional, and only then we can, I'll give them the study permit to start with the
So
process.
the visa application is only possible once the students have submitted you the final grade 12 scores and
Yeah.
received an unconditional letter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Uh, Next question is what are the UVIC's expectations from students after admission in terms of academics? How much percentage is required to pass each semester? So they are asking for the GPA required to proceed to the next semester. I think it's
Roughly around about 2.6.
yeah. Again, it varies from institution to institutions.
Faculty to
The
faculty.
general average in British Columbia is 2.5 on a scale of 4. That's the average. It could be 0.1, 0.2 plus or minus. Next question is from a student. Uh, are the replies to applications still going on? In the sense, are you guys still processing applications? I have already applied, but still haven't heard from the university. So, are you still sending out the offer letters?
Yes, we are still accepting applications for few of the faculties, not all. School of Business is closed. School of Fine Arts is closed. For a few other faculties, we are still accepting applications, but we are accepting applications only till 30th of April. After that, we'll not accept the application. And yes, we are still processing all the application based on whatever documents they are submitting. Your class 10th mark sheet becomes crucial out here. Because that is the standing result that you have with you. So please make sure that you have sent in your class 10th mark sheet at least to us, and either an English language certificate or an IELTS or TOEFL. Even if you have a TRF, online TRF, you can send that to us, so that at least we can roll out your conditional offers.
Okay, that's nice. Next question is in case September classes are conducted online, would there be a reduction in tuition fee? Can you answer this question right now, Saurabh?
Right now, it's difficult to answer because
it's too early.
Yeah, it's too early to answer.
Yeah. Then there's a question from a student who wants to know the student has paid for September 2020 intake already. What will be the further process?
So for him or her, the process is that maybe we'll be soon conducting a registrations 101 webinar, which gets conducted at the end of May, in which we'll tell you more about your how you'll pick up your subjects, how you'll register for the various classes online, and then there'll also be representatives from the ISS, which is the International Student Services, who will talk about the visa part, what exactly they should be doing in terms of the documentation and other things. And then we'll also try to rope in some information about the residences and all. So what I'll do is after this session, within the next week, I'll try to roll in some information about the accommodation and other things, which will act as the next steps for the applicants, because accommodation application is important for students who accept.
That's true. What is the application fee at UVic? That's the next question.
It's $132 Canadian dollars.
All right. I have a follow-up question, Saurabh. How can students apply? Do they have to apply directly or can they go through a consultant as well?
That's up to them. If in case they would like to use the help from a consultant, they can do that, or they can do it on their own as well. It's a very simple online application system. It's a direct application. There is no common app. There is no other stuff. You just go to the UVic website and you can find out the application details out there. Anywhere you get stuck after we closing the session, I'll share my email ID and contact number so that if in case you get stuck somewhere, you can just get in touch.
That's great. What research opportunities undergraduate program in psychology? Sorry, let me rephrase this question. What are the research opportunities available for students who are pursuing undergraduate degree in psychology?
So look, as I said, there are various faculties. UVic is a research intensive university. There are a lot of faculties who are doing research in a particular field. So what you need to do is once you go there, once you identify your research interest, after having attended few classes, the ideal way of doing it is that, you try to get in touch with these faculties and understand their research interest, and wherever your research interest lies, maybe some of them would be doing a research on that particular track. Or if in case you're not clear, they will help you in terms of identifying a research area which is something close to what they are doing. And you also have this work study hours in which you can also get, if in case it's possible, you can also get paid if in case you help the faculty in this work. So yes, the possibilities of research opportunities are there, but you need to explore these. Try not to be shy. Get in touch with the faculty.
Sure.
Get along with them, and then you can explore these.
All right. Next question is, we have accepted the offer letter and paid the acceptance fee. What's next? I think you have already answered this.
Yes.
So I'll move on to the next question. This is from a student. Sir, I have 75% predicted for my 12th result. I'm a non-medical student, means I have physics, chemistry, maths, and of course 2 more subjects. My question is, are there any chances to get into computer science at UVic? 75% predicted and physics, chemistry, maths.
Looks to be slightly tough. They can discuss with me one-on-one because I need to look at the class 10th result also in that case.
Right.
However, it looks to be tough.
Okay, next question is regarding the scholarship. How can one apply for a scholarship as an international student?
Okay, good question. So there are 2-3 options of doing it. A, you do not apply for a scholarship. Your application automatically gets picked up for a scholarship. We have 2-3 types of it. First is we have 20 international entrance scholarships. These are all $10,000 scholarships. Based on your academic performance in your class 10th as well as class 12, we'll take up these students. And the first year, you get a $10,000 scholarship in the first year. Second is the IB scholarship. If in case you come from an IB board, and if you score a minimum of 32 points overall without the bonus points, there's a guaranteed scholarship of 2,500 Canadian dollars. The higher is your score, the scholarship amount can get increased. And then we also have this, on-campus work study positions. You can work up to 340 hours with the faculty and get some financial assistance from there. And then this COVID support bursary as well is what we've announced.
Okay, thank you, Saurabh. Next question is, how can a student send English proficiency test? Do you accept email or do you need hard copies?
Okay, so what you can do is that temporarily you can send in your online TRF, which is available to you with you. However, we require an official reporting through British Council or IDP. There's a simple process. You need to pay 250 rupees to them, and then they officially report the score to us. You need to check with IDP or British Council, and then for the meanwhile, you can just send in your TRF to us.
All right. So this is a follow-up. I don't think it's a question, but it seems like a statement where a student is. So you had talked about the medium of instruction later. The response is certificate from the school has been submitted for last 4 years of education in English. So I think that should be helpful.
That should be helpful, yes.
All right. Next question is, why doesn't UVic send acceptance letters via PDF file, a signed document, rather sending them via emails?
As in the hard copy?
Yeah, that's what it seems. No, they're asking as a PDF file.
Uh, I mean that's up to them how they send the offer. So, I
At the
mean,
end of the day, a letter is a letter, right?
yeah, it hardly makes a difference.
Yeah. Next is, can you connect us to the current students who are pursuing psychology undergraduate? Current students who are pursuing psychology undergraduate program at.
I can try for that. However, I mean, first we need to check with the students if they are okay to talk to you.
Right.
Then I can pass on their details to you.
Or does the program or the faculty have a Facebook page where the students go and
Yes, yes,
chat with
yes. We
them?
do. We do have a my first year at UVic. That's the page. Just I mean, it's a very interactive page. I mean, you can just post in your questions. Some of the students will get in touch with you.
That's great. Uh, can you please discuss co-op program for computer engineering in detail? I think for details, you can arrange a one-on-one call.
Sure, sure, sure. That would
This
be
is from Adit Gupta. Adit, uh, Mr. Saurav would be leaving his phone number and email address. You can schedule a call with him as per his convenience and your convenience, of course. Okay, next question is, how far is UVic from Vancouver and how best to get from there? Well, I can answer that. UVic is about 3 hours by ferry from Vancouver. Is that right?
yes.
3 hours by ferry and about half an hour by seaplane or a regular
Yeah,
flight.
yeah.
Uh, Depends on you. If you are a budget commuter, use the ferry. It's beautiful. I have done that twice, and otherwise, the airplane is the most convenient way. Uh, has the deadline to pay the acceptance deposit changed in view of COVID?
Look, so I mean, it's better that if in case you want some extra time, you can request for an extension,
Hmm.
because it varies from state to state and board to board, because uh, and as of now, I mean, you need to take, if in case you need to take an extension, write to your admission officer and always try to copy me in the email, so that I can get to know what
Right.
exactly is the communication
But
happening.
the default date has not changed, right?
Default date, I mean, yes, I mean, as I can see, some of the students have requested for an extension. They've given some extension to the students,
Okay,
because I have also informed them that till 3rd of May we are on a lockdown, so
sure.
they've given the extension.
Uh, when should the students be able to arrive at the university campus? When is the orientation?
As of now, the 1st of September was the announced date. However, this can be confirmed as we approach
Mhm.
next few months.
What is the normal processing time for an application into bachelor's in computer science?
Generally, once you complete the application, our turnaround time has been around about 4 weeks with all documentation.
Mhm.
So you can presume that within a month's time we can come back to with your response.
Sure. So this question, next question seems to be from an applicant who wants to know, if they don't get a seat in September, do they have to apply again for January intake, or the same application can be deferred?
No, if in case all the applications will get some reward back,
Mhm.
either a acceptance or a refusal, you will get a reward back. However, if in case you're not successful, then you need to do a reapplication. If in case you want to defer your admission, then we can look into it, because this is a new situation. However, old practices have been that for every intake you need to do a new application and pay a new application fees. However, this is an exception, so we can look into it this time.
Okay. Uh, the next student wants to know about the university transfer programs. Which all universities can a student transfer out from UVic to other universities? I think in British Columbia it's fairly open. You
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
British Columbia is actually known for its transfer system between the public institutions. You can transfer very conveniently from one institution to the other depending on your grades. Does the university want IB results to be sent directly from IB board, or can the scores be uploaded by the student themselves?
Students can self-report the scores. However, for the time being, I mean, they need to send in their predicted grades. If they not send it, please send it ASAP.
Mhm.
Uh, and yes, you can self-report the scores.
Okay. What GPA is required to earn a scholarship in the second year of BSc?
That depends from faculty to faculty. I mean, it has to be, at least 3.3 above.
Okay. How can a student find out more about the co-op opportunities in the BSc program? I think for that they have to specify BSc in what?
Yeah, so I mean, let them connect to me. I can send them the relevant links to, view more. I
Sure.
mean, I can send them some documents as well for the co-op. They can refer to that.
All right. Since the IB exams have been cancelled, uh, how do students fulfill the academic requirements?
So I think in that case, you mean the kind of update that I've got from various school counselors and all that, they are preparing the result on the basis of your internal whatever assessments you've done. So whenever you have an official result from them, please share it with us. I mean, based on that, we'll take a call on, considering for the various programs.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, we may be flexible this time. However, it all depends on your faculty.
Sure. Other universities have sent out a clear communication that since school exams have been delayed globally, the grades submitted, and if an offer is made, then the grades submitted will be considered final. Is UVic planning to do the same? Basically, the grades that were submitted for a conditional acceptance, will they be considered as final grades as well?
No, they still need to report the scores to us, whatever is the official report. As I said, we may be flexible this time, as I mean, considering that they've not appeared for the actual exams. So I mean, you need to send in an official result to us to roll in the unconditional offers to you.
Sure. Can you put some light on how co-op programs work? And if a student chooses a co-op, would that increase the length of the program?
Okay. So let me just, I mean, since there are many of them asking for co-op, let me just give you a very quick snapshot. Look, your co-op programs start from the second year onwards. What happens in that, first year you do your 8 months of studies and you have a free term. You can come back to the country, stay there and all. However, when you start with the second year onwards, you do an 8 months program out there, 4 months, 2 terms, and then you enroll in a co-op for a 4 months duration. Yes, you would need some kind of break in between. So you might need some shorter breaks, which increases the length of your program. So yes, instead of graduating in the sharp 4th year, you might extend it to early 5th year like that. So it may happen like that. However, having said that, it is a very, very important thing that if in case your program allows you to do a co-op and you wish to be a part of the co-op, you should enroll in the same, because this is something which is really going to act as a game changer when you pass out of the program. So every alternate term from the 3rd year will be a co-op. So you do minimum 3 and maximum 4 terms of co-op. Each term at UVic has an average payout of $11,400.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Can you give a brief about the residences offered at the university?
I will have to share in a detailed email with you with all the possible options. We do guarantee the accommodation for all the first year students,
Okay.
right? So there are all there are mixed gender accommodations. There is you can get the option of single seater and double sharing, and a cluster accommodation. So there are various possibilities. I can share you an email which will have which will clarify more in detail, and I can also share with you a video link which you can obviously see the kind of accommodation that we have.
Sure. Can students submit SAT scores in lieu of grade 12 scores? Can
No.
SAT supplement grade 12 scores?
No, they cannot.
All right. How is BSc Computer Science different from BTech in Computer Science? Like, how does it differ in terms of job opportunities?
Look, I mean, both are equally competent course. I won't say that BSc Computer Science is anyway less than a BTech Computer Science. It is just that the BSc Computer Science would be more application based. However, BTech will give you a more in-depth knowledge about both hardware and software part of it when it comes to the computer. So I don't see much of a difference. And when you see compare the modules as well, most of them are same. I mean, it is completely your call. If in case you want, I can send you a program planning worksheet, which you can compare subject to subject for these two subjects.
That's great. Can you please? Okay, it's a question from a student who's already applied in February, and apparently, with all the documents are sent to the university, the student hasn't heard back from the admissions with an acceptance, nor with a deferral, nor with a rejection.
I think the student has, yesterday only got in touch. I've written to the university. I'm expecting a response by,
Thank you.
tomorrow, so I can get back to them.
All right. Okay, the next question is, I've been given a due date of 15th May to accept the offer letter. So can the date be extended?
Yes.
As the board results are still awaited?
It can be extended, but try to understand one thing. You cannot extend the offer acceptance deadline for a long period. Why? Because you are not a registered student until you pay the acceptance deposit. So as the things normalize, yes, you will be having some result in hand. That is for sure, right? And based on that result, we will have your application assessed as well. So if in case you don't register, your study permit does not come on time, you cannot file an application for your accommodation. You cannot do your registration for the various subjects. And as I said, they're very popular subjects as well, and most of them you would like to enroll with the best faculty available. So don't delay it for a too long period. Just take a call that yes, this is the kind of score range that has been given to me to meet the offer conditions, and then if in case I can score close to that, please go ahead and accept.
Sure. Very quick answer required. What is the tuition fee for computer science fall 2020?
I think it would be $25,000. BSc Computer Science, $25,000.
Okay. Another important question I see is, if someone has got the offer letter for January, do they have to accept the offer right now?
There's a deadline given to them. They have to, accept the offer within the deadline. If in case they delay it for a too long time, the offer might lapse, because January, they can go ahead and accept.
Another question, it's something similar that you have already answered. Student has accepted class 10th, 11th and 12th mark sheet, last 4 years medium of instruction letter submitted, but no LOA till date. So it all depends. If you have submitted them yesterday, you will not get anything right now. As Saurabh said, the normal processing time is 4 weeks. And in the current times, I think the processing times can go up further.
Yeah, having said that, do one thing. All the students who have not heard back from us, whether it is offer, rejection, or whatever it is, please do write in a simple email to me, connect with me. I'll tell him, and I'll try to figure out what exactly is happening and what is missing in your application, so that you can, each and every application will get the decision. It is not happening that you might be refused and there's no communication from the university. And plus, do keep on checking your emails, including your spam as well as your junk folders, because these are international emails with attachments. So at times they might hit over there.
Sure. Do you have a program of chemical engineering?
No, we don't.
All right.
For chemical engineering.
Sir, I have 90% as predicted scores in grade 12 and 86 in 10. In case board results are not out, do I stand a chance for the fall intake? I think we've already answered this in a different way.
Yeah.
I am IB student. I would like to know more about subject credits as in advanced standing that a student would get, an IB student would get.
Okay. So based on their whatever subjects they've taken, we do give credit exemptions to these students. They can just get in touch with do the application and get in touch with the relevant admission officer. They can let them know about how many credit points we do give them as a waiver. It might be 1.5, it might be 3. I mean, all depends on the kind of subjects that they've taken, which is relevant to what the field of education.
Sure. Can a student has can a student have two majors? Sorry, can a student have a major in physics and minor in business?
They can do that. I don't see a problem out here, because business requires a mathematics element, and if a student is able to manage that, I don't see a problem. They can do that.
Okay. Another question is, in case you don't have chemical engineering, what are the other subjects, other programs that include chemical subjects?
In that case, then he'll have to choose, maybe sciences, biochemistry, and chemistry, and these are the combinations available. So I don't see a chemical engineering closely related, anything related to that.
Okay. A student has already received $3,000 as IB scholarship for 36 predictive points. If the actual scores are much higher than 36, will the scholarship be revised to
Yes,
a higher amount?
that can be reconsidered. That can be reconsidered based on the actual scores.
Okay. Mhm. Okay. I'm just looking at unique questions. Hello, sir. Due to this pandemic, is it advised to enroll in January 2020 over September 2020?
I don't see a specific reason why you should not enroll in September. If you've given the opportunity, as I said, that our students have done their visa process and they've enrolled in May. They've done everything possible for May intake, and we've started for the timing for their classes online. So at least they've started with their initial stuff. And then once the things will resume, hopefully by September, they'll join the full-time classes. So they have not wasted any time, and they have started the studies as per their schedule. If in case you still feel that you want to go ahead and do it for January itself, the applications would be opening in a couple of days time, and they've already, for few programs, they're already all on live. So you can go ahead and do the applications for January. So it's completely your call. However, if in case you want to save time, start with your program. In September is a major intake, so all the programs would be open. So it might not happen that the kind of program that you're looking at is not available in January. So it's completely your call. We are ready to start everything on time.
Okay. The next question is, a student wants to know about the social media handles. So on Facebook, you said it's my first year at UVic.
Yeah.
And are you guys there on Instagram as well?
We have various social media handles. So what I can do is I can share that somehow.
Okay. Maybe you can send an email later.
Yeah.
Or the email that you have, you can include the social media handles, the links to the various social media handles. Okay. We have already addressed scholarships. How easy is it to get on-campus or off-campus jobs, part-time jobs, and what kind of jobs are those?
Look, all depends. There are a lot of opportunities available. So till now I've never seen a student complaining that there are no jobs available for him or her. So you can have various kind of job opportunities available. However, if you work on campus, there are a lot of study work hours rolled out by the faculty itself. So you can stay connected with your academics, do relevant stuff close to the kind of education that you're doing, and still get some finances out of it. So that can be one option. Otherwise, yes, part-time jobs are easily available. So I don't see a problem.
But usually we discourage students to take a part-time job in the first semester because they're anyway going through a lot of transitions. Right?
Because the kind of education system that we have gone through and which exists in all these international countries is very, very different. So there's culture shock. You might be away from family, and these difficult times. There are a lot of things to cope up. So it's better to get associated with some kind of sporting facilities or something which excites you, to be around with your academics more in the first year, and then from the second year onwards, either you can go in for a co-op, and then you can also plan for your part-time.
Sure.
So
All right. The next question is, how can a student pay the acceptance fee? The student is not able to find that information on my UVic account.
okay, so that's available on the website. We have 2-3 options of making the payment. You can do a wire transfer. You can we also have a tie-up with the Western Union UVic Pay, so you can pay through that as well. Plus, you can also pay through net banking. The account details are given on the website. You can just add in and go ahead and do the payment as well. So the best way of doing it is, if in case you're not very pro with doing the international transactions, go approach a bank and do a forex transfer.
A wire transfer, you mean?
Yeah, wire transfer.
Okay. There's a question, sir. I've been given an offer letter, but my problem is that I've been given my second choice degree, which is in humanities. So can I change to BCom in the second year?
So look, I'll tell you, for BCom, I mean, the first 2 years are pre-business. What they might have done, they might have given you an alternate offer. You need to up your grades, take the relevant subjects out there, and perform as per the required marks. Once you enroll at the university, that time you have to tell them that you might look forward to a transfer to the School of Business, so that your grades and everything can be kept under an observation, and then you might be able to transfer. So the transfer can happen at the end of the first year. It can also happen at the end of the second year as well. So till that time, you have a lot of you get a lot of time on hand to improve and up your grades to get into the School of Business.
Okay. I think you've already answered this. A student wants to know the grade 12 academic requirement for a scholarship. Just can you repeat it once? Maybe the student joined little late in the webinar.
Which question?
The academic requirement, the grade 12 score requirement for scholarship.
So for scholarship, I mean, you need to have, I mean, if in case
Indian
you're
board.
Indian board, right? So you need to be minimum of 92-93% and above.
Okay.
Below that, it's very tough to get a scholarship.
Okay, if a student is unsuccessful in getting a seat in the first priority or the program of the first choice, is it possible to change into the program once the program begins, like change from engineering to business program, first year engineering, second year business?
Look, I mean, within certain limitations, yes, you can change the program. There might be students who have not been given the first choice offer. However, based on the final or actual class 12 results, these things might change. So you need to write to your admission officers as you get your final result that this is the kind of grade I've got. Can I be reconsidered for the certain faculty which I applied for as the first choice? So they may or they may not accept. As I said, business programs, the first 2 years are pre-business. So if you take, there'll be optional electives, there'll be core electives. So if in case you take up some relevant optional electives which are close to business, and then you can do a switch. I mean, as I said, academic advising committee is there to guide you on that. That is possible.
Okay. So we have about 5 to 10 more minutes. We'll try to answer as many questions. So it's a rapid fire for you, Saurabh, now. Okay. The student is unable to send the IELTS scores due to the lockdown. Is it possible that student can email you this IELTS scores?
Yes, what they can do is they can send me the online TRF, the test report format that they get. They can share it with me. For the time being, we'll roll out the offer letters based on that. And once the things resume, then they can share the official scorecards through.
At what stage does a student get to know about the scholarship during the entire application cycle?
So we've already started rolling out a few offers for scholarships. So as I said, one of the students who already got
$3,000
scholarship. Yes. So when we already started rolling out these, I mean, the earlier you apply, the better it is. Once you update us about your results or whatever it is, we'll try to make a call. Otherwise, we'll give you a conditional scholarship letter as well.
Okay. Do the students have to enroll for co-op programs separately after arriving in Canada?
No, they don't have to enroll separately. However, they have to tell us about the interest. there's a different co-op cell in which they have to notify that yes, for certain programs it is mandatory to be a part of the co-op. Obviously, it will be in your curriculum.
Okay.
However, some programs do not have a mandatory co-op. So, say for example, psychology, they will have to approach the co-op and that yes, I'm interested in doing a co-op.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will tell them what kind of opportunities are there, and accordingly they get prepared.
Okay. The student has already paid the acceptance fee. How much time does it take to get the LOA after that?
I think maximum 7-8 days. Within a week they should get that.
That's right. Okay. This is a question from a student who's already contacted you regarding the problem pertaining to application ID and password.
Yeah.
So I think you are already.
I've already communicated the same to my colleagues.
I'm skipping this question. This is regarding MBA. Or can you tell the student just in one word the tuition fee for MBA?
No, I mean I'm from the undergraduate division, so I'll not be able to comment on that.
Okay. Is there a way to pay by internet banking directly? It's very difficult to pay using making international transactions through internet banking. You will have to get in touch with a real banker at a real branch. What is the estimate of accommodation cost, minimum to maximum?
A minimum 6,600, maximum 11,000.
This is for 2 semesters.
This is for 2 semesters, yes.
Okay. Next question is from someone who wants to know your email address. I've already left your email address in the chat. So we have already paid for a hostel application fee. But we get. So they still, someone has already paid for the on-campus accommodation, but they're yet to hear back from the residences team about a confirmation. Can you please help them?
I think they'll not hear back the mid of next month, not before that.
Okay. There's a student who's already submitted IELTS scores electronically through British Council, but the conditional offer letter, the student is asked to submit the TOEFL by a mentioned deadline. Why so?
Yeah, so I've got this communication. I've already written to them to change the offer, and that should not be a big concern.
That's a human error.
Yeah, slight error. So that can be done.
Okay. You have already explained this computer science and computer engineering, I guess. So if a student is studying in at a university in India for the first year, can they transfer to UVic in the second year or after the first semester in India?
We do accept transfers. However, that also depends on the kind of institution that they are pursuing their course from. So transfer, yes, it is possible. We'll look at the grades in the first year also.
All right. What are the sports available at UVic? Is there a cricket team UVic has? So I know of a cricket club in Victoria. It's not linked to the university, but Victoria has a cricket field, and there's a cricket club as well. Actually, people. I know of a couple of people in Vancouver who travel to Victoria a couple of times a year to play cricket. So
we do have a athletic facility, as well as we have our own teams called Vikes in various other fields, but cricket is not that popular out there. So at the university level, we have other facilities for sports, but yes, I don't say cricket is not popular, I guess.
All right. So this is a follow-up question from a student who wanted to know if they can change the program in the second year. They wrote an email to the university and they have received a response saying that the student will have to prepare the prerequisites if they want to change the program. So the student wants to know if those prerequisites would be taught in the first year itself.
Yes. So as I said, once they enroll and they have this intention that they might like to switch over to another faculty in the second year, they should seek a proper advice from the academic advising committee that, okay, I'm looking forward to a change to so and so faculty, so that the subjects that they pick up in the first year, when they should have some relevant subjects to take a transfer.
Okay.
It should not happen that you study absolutely opposite of what exactly you intend to do.
Sure. All right. Next question is, if one has been offered specific cutoff in conditional offer letter and couldn't maintain that much in one subject, what happens? So basically, if the student is not able to meet the requirements mentioned in the conditional offer letter.
Okay. So, I mean, generally we don't allow such exemptions, but this time around, it might be, as I said, we might be slightly flexible this time. So, all depends on the admissions team. However, we might, give a slight exemption in that case.
Okay. What is the national ranking of computer engineering program in Canada? Like, do you have the program specific rankings?
No, we do not have a program specific ranking as such. However, UVic is computer science engineering as well as computer science BSc. Both are extremely popular at UVic.
All right. Does UVic provide drama or theater as a minor subject?
Minor, yes. Yes, we might be. So I'll have to check on that. So
no problem. You can always get back to the student on email. Student has 91% in 10th, 89% in 11th, and predictive grade 12 is 90%. They applied within the deadline. Can they expect an offer letter? 90 predicted, 10th 90, and 11th 90.
They should have got the offer by now. I think that is something which we look at. So if in case you've not got an offer letter or any reward back till now, please do write to me. Let me see what's the problem with your application.
Okay. Can a student change first year courses before starting the program, or do they have to change? I think the students are confused between courses, subjects, and programs. So I think we have already spoken about the change in program. So if a student begins a particular program in the first year, the change in program, is it possible within the first year itself, Saurabh? Or
change
do they
program
have to
in the
complete
first year looks to be difficult because they register for the specific programs, before they leave the country. So whatever subjects they'll be enrolling at, everything is ready for them to join in, because then it's very difficult for them to land over there and then shift to various subjects.
Okay.
They have to do it beforehand.
So if September intake goes online, will the students be required to travel? No. In case students are not allowed to travel, in that situation only the classes will go online.
Yes.
So you'll have to stay at your homes. Does UVic has offer any music or theater? Okay, do you guys have any music or theater clubs for students?
We do have that. We have 175 plus clubs for various interest areas, including music. Yes.
Okay. Is the social science faculty or or the BSc in psychology still standing out offer letters when the application and everything was closed in beginning of February?
No, beginning of February, well, yes, we closed around a few programs. Business was closed, theater was closed, music was closed, kinesiology was closed. So many programs were closed at time. However, few faculties were still open. So I think we have taken the application for this.
Well, what do we have to do to take up a minor when they start a program? I think you'll have to speak to your academic advisor at the time of course registration.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, a student has a 1st May deadline to accept the offer. The student has already asked for an extension, but has not received any positive response from the admission officer. So I think the student wants to know how much time are you taking to respond to the extension requests?
It happens very quickly. If in case you've not heard back from them, please do write back to me and let me see what best I can do for you.
All
You
right.
should get it within a couple of days time.
Okay. Once we accept the offer, we cannot withdraw after that, right?
No,
Well,
it's a
so
non-refundable.
what is the first deposit a student needs to make to get the unconditional letter?
Okay, so we just want you to deposit a 200 Canadian dollars as a deposit, acceptance deposit, and rest once you're ready with your tuition fees and all that. So
All right.
only 200 Canadian dollars needs to be deposited.
And in case the student has paid so this is not something we've received on chat. I'm asking out of my curiosity. If the student has paid the entire tuition fee, 200 plus the tuition fee, can the student withdraw at that stage? In case student does not want to come to Canada, change of plans.
I think, I mean, they do have they are given some days to withdraw from the program. So if in case the request comes within those duration, then they are allowed to, drop the courses and withdraw from the program.
All right. Now we are going to take the last question. Last question is details about the scholarships available in second and third years. I think you have already mentioned that, Saurabh. Can you share that information once again quickly?
So I'll tell you,
The
man,
last question.
what happens is that second and third year, everything depends on your internal grades that you maintain at the university. So yes, once you start your course from here, based on your present credentials, we give you some kind of entrance scholarships. But when you land up at the university, once you perform in your first year, second year, there are internal bursaries and scholarships that are available to you. So
Okay.
all depends on your performance. The better you perform, the higher is the amount of scholarship that you can expect.
All right. But so again, a follow-up question. This is not a fresh question. Regarding the withdrawals only, student has paid the initial deposit of $200, but still wants to withdraw and does not expect a refund. So that's possible, right?
That's possible, yes.
All right. All right. We are ending this session right now, students. I would like to thank all of you for taking out time this evening and being with us in this webinar. I hope we were able to help you with most of your questions. We have already sent over the chat the contact coordinates of Mr. Saurabh Verma. You can see those on the screen as well. So please feel to get in touch with him directly over the next few days. I hope he will be able to answer rest of your questions as well. Saurabh?
Yeah. Okay, so good that you all connected. Any questions, any queries you may have, please, do get in touch with me. I mean, this number is available on WhatsApp as well as the email ID is also given for you. Just ping me. I mean, right now we all the best thing is to to clarify your doubt is to get connected, get going, and any questions or queries you may have, please do not hesitate to try to discuss with me, and then let me tell you and let me help you out on what exactly can be the next
Well,
step.
we have a positive feedback already. Saurabh, a student is saying that she's already relieved of all her stress now after this webinar. So that's great. I hope we could help most of you here this evening.
Yes, so what we'll try to do is that moving forward, with all the applicants, we'll try to do some more webinars so that they are updated for each and every step of action that they need to take.
All right. Great. Have a great evening, everybody. Good night. Take care. Stay home. Stay safe. Bye-bye.